Welcome to this live edition of Rev Talk. Here is your host and author, Shane, better known to many as simply the Black Swan.
All right, welcome to this special edition of Rev Talk. My name is Shane. In this video, I thought I'd do something different and just make a short little video. Not going to go too long. I think this video is important because the more stuff I dig up, the more you're going to be shocked as to what I find. And I need to document this stuff because what I'm afraid of is down the road, some of these clips that I find are going to get buried somewhere. So this is why I've been going hard making little videos here and there. And usually I go live, in the middle of the day, do my work outside of that. And then, but I don't usually like to do a couple of videos in one day. But in this case, I thought, this interview just was posted and I thought, I gotta record it. I gotta talk about it before it gets pulled down. Because again, this will just shock you. I'm telling you, if I was Augustus's lawyer for Rainmaker, I would tell him not to do interviews. But they're doing the exact opposite. Whoever they is, maybe it's himself. He's the CEO. He's the founder of Rainmaker. But he's just pumping out the interviews left, right, and center. Remember a couple of videos ago, I heard him say that they were at 2,500 feet. They released 60 grams, 65 grams of silver iodide. Then the last video, 70 grams. Now this video, it's the average silver iodide being released is about 50 grams. So in the last video, he said 70. So that means he's dumping silver iodide above average for a 20-minute flight. It's getting bizarro out there. All right, so I'm going to play this one. And I'm going to share my comments as we go. I hope you guys appreciate this stuff because I'm telling you, there's something fishy here. So let's watch the interview. This is on Will Kane Country, and it just came out a little while ago. So let's just listen to it.
Augustus, great to see you. Thanks for being with us here today, and thanks for facing so many of the questions that have come your way over the last couple of days and the last week. You have appeared with Tim Pool, Dinesh D'Souza, Steve Bannon. You're here today with me to take these issues head on. So let's start with what cloud seeding is. Would you talk to me about that versus the other forms of weather modification?
Absolutely. So cloud seeding is a technology that was invented in America in the 40s for the sake of creating more water in times of drought, be that in the form of enhancing snowpack or water and rain to recharge reservoirs or aquifers that are being depleted. It's something that we've known about for a long time, that we have longitudinal safety data on, that I'm happy to express transparently and give to the public consistently. Now, cloud seeding often gets conflated with another technology that's called solar radiation modification, or SRM. SRM is a proposed technology that's beginning to be experimented with. It's not nearly as old as cloud seeding, but SRM is a proposed technology to inject reflective particles into the stratosphere to block some of the solar radiation and then cool the planet down. That is altogether and totally different from cloud seeding. Cloud seeding is a water supply tool with localized effects and a long history that we can talk about the safety data of. SRM is something relatively new that would have global and climatic implications rather than just effects on local weather. And then there's this third thing, which is chemtrails or contrails. And so where we know that cloud seeding is real, we know that SRM is real, I have yet to see any sufficient evidence of a malevolent conspiracy of someone releasing toxins into the atmosphere in those long streaky tracks in the upper atmosphere. A lot of what I've seen seems to suggest that those are condensation trails formed by airplanes. Now, regardless of whether those are condensation trails or chemtrails, and I am entirely open to people presenting evidence of them being chemtrails of some kind, despite not believing them to be that now, If you see a long streak in the sky, that has nothing to do with cloud seeding, which relies on existing big puffy natural clouds raining a little bit more.
Okay, we talked about the process of cloud seeding. Let's focus.
It's interesting that he went into what cloud seeding is not. And it's like, you know what? Just tell us what cloud seeding is. I don't need to know about chemtrails and all these other things, like what's going on in other countries, whatever. Just tell me what cloud seeding is.
In on cloud seeding. This is in your company's most frequent usage, putting silver iodide into clouds, targeted clouds, which use radar to target these clouds that you think could produce moisture but haven't yet. And you've talked extensively on many of these shows, like the Sean Ryan show, about you've studied silver iodide, you know the effects of silver iodide. Is this safe?
Absolutely it is, and thank you for asking. So silver iodide in cloud seeding, right? We use about 50 grams per operation. That's something like 8 to 10 Skittles worth, and that.
Okay, so now this is where he says 50 now. That tells me he's not being truthful here, because in one video it's 70, one it's 60, one it's 65. Now it's the average is 50. And now he's using slang for these flares. He's calling them Skittles, 8 to 10 Skittles. Skittles are basically just the flares on the end of the plane. They're the ones that light up when ignited, and they disperse the aerosol, the silver iodide. So sometimes you can put between 5-10 grams in each one of these. Just think of them, each one, as like a stick of dynamite. That's the easiest way, because they do look like sticks of dynamite on the edge of a plane, and you do have to ignite him. You do have to ignite them.
That gets distributed over hundreds of square miles, right? After decades of cloud seeding operations, because Rainmaker is not the first one to have done this, right? There have been companies.
Okay, so let me just back up here. Back up a little bit as to what he just said.
Right? After decades of cloud seeding operations, because Rainmaker is not the in cloud seeding, right? We use about 50 grams per operation. That's something like 8 to 10 Skittles worth, and that gets distributed over hundreds of square miles.
Okay, so 50 grams, 8 to 10 Skittles, that gets distributed for hundreds of miles. Hundreds of miles. Not feet, not meters, not 100 meters, not 1,000. Hundreds of miles. Remember, right now, during the operation on July 2nd, he was located about 150 miles due east of Kerrville, of Mystique, Camp Mystique.
Right? After decades of cloud seeding operations, because Rainmaker is not the first one to have done this, right? There have been companies since the 50s conducting cloud seeding ops. After decades of operations in the regions where cloud seeding has occurred, we've only seen an increase in silver of about 8 parts per trillion. And there's
Okay, throwing out numbers. Now, he says we're not the first. They've been doing this since the 50s, yes. But no other company is claiming to be next generation level of seeding, cloud seeding. Next generation, meaning what they did before is nothing compared to what you do now. You make it rain. Your company's name is Rainmaker.
there's already about 2 parts per million naturally occurring in American soil of silver species. So we've added, after decades of cloud seeding, 1,000,000 times less than what's naturally there, and it's had no adverse ecological or agricultural impacts.
Okay, and people can listen to longer form interviews that you have done about some of the safety and research that you've done on what you use to cloud seed. Now, I want you to please address a larger question, which is one that is somewhat broad and perhaps even religious, but are you playing God? Are you messing with things that you shouldn't be messing with when it comes to the weather?
I get this question all the time, and I totally think it makes sense to ask it. My intention is to serve God. I think that in Genesis 1:26 through 28, and then throughout the Psalms and the rest of the Bible, God tells us to take dominion over and steward creation, both for our sake, creation's itself, and then to honor him. And so if there are...
However, God says that he is going to bring the rain. He's going to bring the rain to those that obey him, and he's going to punish others that don't obey him. This was back in the Old Testament. So he would bring rain, lightning, hail, all kinds of stuff to wicked nations. That's all documented in the Bible. God was in charge of the weather.
Droughts, and we have the tools to mitigate the damage done by them for our sake and for nature itself, then we should deploy those for the sake of tending to and stewarding the world. And if we weren't to do that, if we were to ban cloud seeding wholesale, despite knowing that it's safe, despite knowing it could help alleviate these problems, we'd be abdicating our God-given responsibility to be stewards of the world.
Okay, let's address whether or not it's safe now and apply it to what you were doing on July 2nd in Texas. This is a very emotional moment. People are upset. Children, hundreds died. The question is whether or not Rainmaker, cloud seeding on July 2nd, contributed to storms that occurred on July 4th. Did it enhance? Did it intensify what we saw some 36 to 48 hours later?
Unequivocally, our cloud seeding operations on July 2nd did not impact the flooding that occurred later. And that said, my heart and prayers are still with all the people of Texas and all those families.
Okay, that's kind of a manipulation thing to say. My heart goes out. That's PR stuff. But there's no way that you can say with 100% without any doubt that what you did just south of Antonio, southeast of San Antonio, that there was no responsibility. Because it's funny how an organization like this that says we want to modify the weather like God did. It's our right. It's our given right. He allowed us to do this. But when you press, they're like, no. We don't do that stuff. We don't manipulate the weather. We don't cause anything. There's no way nothing can happen downwind. Like, it's weird.
Families that have been affected. It was a tragedy. But in cloud seeding on the 2nd, one, we are regulated by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, and we have what are called suspension criteria, where if there are National Weather Service flash flood warnings or severe storm warnings, then we cannot operate in those areas per the restrictions and regulations we have.
Okay, so said there was regulations saying that they cannot operate if it looked like, if there's rumors, if there's news reports that there is heavy rain, floods, flash floods imminent, any of those kind of information. If you got wind of any of that, the regulations say you are to stop. So the question is, why were you there seeding when the river was already full, the Gallup River, when the man-made lakes were already full, Ingram, New Ingram, and then there was the other lake. What's the other lake? They were full. The soil has been saturated to death, meaning if you add one drop of water, it's going to overflow. We're not asking you if you're responsible for trillions of gallons of water that Barry brought in as a tropical storm. You keep saying that. You keep saying what we did is only millions of gallons of water. We're not like tropical storm Barry. They have trillions. Yeah, but we're not asking you if you caused tropical storm Barry. That's not what we're saying. We're not even asking you if you called tropical storm Chantel. That's not what we're asking you. We're not asking you, did you cause a flood in New York, Chicago? Did you cause a flood in Florida somewhere, in Miami? We're not asking you those questions. We're asking you, where were you on July 2nd? And this is the question. This is the dodging. It's like, well, we're not like that. It's this much. It's a little bit. They always do this. They'll say, that's big, but what we do, you can't even tell we're there. You don't even know. That's how insignificant our company is. That's not their slogan. Their slogan is basically, let's make it rain.
Our meteorologists actually proactively suspended operations a day before the National Weather Service issued a
So they have their own personal meteorologist that suspended operations the day before the flood. Their own. So if their own knew that there was an imminent flood in Kerr County, why didn't you let the public know? You suspended operations after 20 minutes. Is that because you're finished? And then you suspended your operations because you got a pat on the back? Your own meteorologist said it took effect. It worked. You guys are done. You're out of here. I think you're shifting a little bit here.
flash flood warning. So we were ahead of the curve there. And then even so,
he's ahead of the curve before the flood warning, the flash flood warning. He's ahead of the curve. Their organization is next generation, meaning they're way better than the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 2000. They're next generation. They have their own meteorologists. They have their own plane. They have their own drones that they designed themselves. Let's back it up here.
flash flood warning. So we were ahead of the curve there. And then even so, storm warnings, then we cannot operate in those areas per the restrictions and regulations we have. Our meteorologists actually proactively suspended operations a day before the National Weather Service issued a flash flood warning. So we were ahead of the curve there. And then
The day before. Okay, so the warning went out on July 3rd at about 1 p.m. in the afternoon, or 1300 hours. And then on July 4th at about 1:18 a.m., 0100 hours, flash flood everywhere, 20-foot surges. Evacuate, stay put, help is on the way, whatever it is, whatever the alarms were, they didn't get anything for 13 hours. You're saying you knew before the first warning, which according to you was at 1 o'clock in the morning. So you're not even paying attention to the one in the afternoon. You're talking about the one that was issued during the flood at 1 o'clock in the morning. And yet your flight log, which I showed in the previous video, shows that you were flying at about 1800 hours, which means you were flying on July 2nd late at night or July 3rd late at night. We're still not sure. You say July 2nd, but you're throwing out other times that kind of make it feel like you're actually flying on July 3rd, which would make more sense. Because otherwise, you're now saying that you knew of an imminent flood 48 hours before. And I don't think that's what you mean to say. Maybe you do mean it. But it doesn't make sense. The flight log will make the most sense. We need to see that flight log. We need to see the day that you took off, which looked like it was at 6 o'clock at night. You say it's in the afternoon at 1 o'clock that you suspended operations. So your dates are going all over the place. Got to be clear when you're doing these interviews.
even so, the precipitation that we induced, right? Like the very best operations can produce tens of millions of gallons of precipitation over hundreds of square miles. That is de minimis relative to the remnants of the tropical storm that came in and dumped trillions of gallons of precipitation.
So you were able to produce, in short, something like this much rain, less than a centimeter of rain, and the flood itself, the storms themselves, it filled up a 20-foot pond, an Olympic-sized pool, 20 inches of rain. Mm-hmm. And so your argument is, if anything, we contributed the tiniest bit. I want to end with one.
Okay, so again, he's diminishing. And he's building a straw man saying, look, we're not like these guys. We're not like Tropical Barry. Barry brought trillions. We just brought in tens of millions. That's still a lot of water. Tens of millions of barrels of water is a lot. It's not a little, especially when everything is full. All your man-made lakes are full. The dams are at the top. They're about to overflow. Rivers are maxed out. The ground is fully saturated. There's nowhere for the water to go. So now add tens of millions of gallons of water. You have a catastrophe now.
Somewhat scientific, but skeptical question that I think you're ready to answer. I've listened to hours and hours of your content and read about Rainmaker. And the question is the silver iodide that you put into the atmosphere localized to one cloud capable of remaining in the air? And as a new storm system moves in, supercharging that storm system. Could that have happened in Texas?
So supercharging, no, absolutely not. Remaining in the atmosphere, no, not that either. When you see...
So not in the air, not supercharge, never supercharged, never in the air. This is baloney. There are so many articles that I've come across, video clips of news outlets, of the scientific community, of people that are actually flying these sorties of silver iodide. They are busy documenting all this stuff for the past 40, 50 years. They know what happens when you miss a farm. It goes hundreds of miles past the farm, past the target that you're trying to hit. Why? Because the wind carried the silver iodide farther than you thought. It didn't get activated. It stayed in the clouds, in the air for miles. You can't predict what percentage of silver iodide actually worked in the clouds. You can guess, you could say 100%. Every single time we inject it into a cloud, it works 100%. Or you could say, well, there's a chance probably 20, 30% of the silver misses the cloud because we're flying around it. We're flying below it. We're flying in front of it, after it, all this kind of stuff. There is a chance we can miss it. And it's happened. It's been documented that accidents have happened in the past.
The clouds themselves, when you disperse the silver iodide into it, and then it precipitates, that aerosol, that particulate precipitates down and out within the course of hours. Now, if you were to just disperse aerosol into open air, then it could persist longer. But one, we were seeding clouds rather than dispersing it just in the open atmosphere. And two, any amount that would have remained in the ensuing days and hours from our operation would have been so radically diffuse, it have been lower in concentration than just the background dust.
So it either produces rain within an hour or two, or it dissipates within, I've heard you say something like 12 to 20 hours, meaning some 36 to 48 hours once the storm moves into Texas, your silver iodide would no longer be part of the equation?
No, not at all.
Okay. So lots there. So he just said that if it were possible that some of the silver iodide particles remain in the atmosphere even for 18, 20 hours down the road, it's so small. Everything with this company is so small. Nobody can detect it. It's too small. It's minuscule. It's tiny. What we do is insignificant compared to Barry, all this stuff. But he just said that what they did was they seeded two clouds and it dissipated. Well, that's not what your company does. Because think about it. If you went to a farmer and you launched your plane into the air and the farmer's getting all excited because he's in a drought and he's watching this plane come to seed the clouds that are above him, and he's getting all excited, and then they dispersed the silver and the clouds disappeared. The farmer would be like, what the heck? We don't need you to get rid of the clouds. That's not why we hired you. We hired you to make it rain. Now they're saying they're really good at making clouds disappear. That's what they're saying. Within a couple of hours, within 20 minutes, we make the clouds disappear. That's not what farmers are hiring you for. That's not what associations are hiring you for. They're hiring you to make it rain. They want you to make it rain. They want you to bring your tens of millions of gallons of water. Like you said, that's what you did. But now you're saying all you did was disperse clouds. That's it. 20-minute operation, boom, done. That's it. Nothing to see here, folks. Too convenient. It's too convenient for you to say that you're not responsible. It's too convenient to say that. When I showed maps of your district, I showed the inconsistencies with the level of silver iodide that you said you used between 50 and 70. One day you say 70, one day 60, 65, 50. You say 2,500 feet, 2,400 feet, then 1,600 feet. It felt like you're talking about drones at first, but now you're saying it was a plane. And your average mission is drones. 3 of them. That's your average. But you decided to up it and use a plane because a plane is harder to use. It covers more territory. You just said it covers hundreds of miles. And in 20 minutes, you can cover a lot of space on a plane versus a drone. And you can climb higher than a drone. You can arguably climb 10, 20,000 feet, still under the jet stream, still under where commercial jets fly. But you're saying, no, we didn't do that. We could have used the drone for 20 minutes, but we decided, you know what? We're going to go big. We're going to use a plane that has 8 to 10 Skittles on it, holding arguably 5 to 10 grams of silver iodide in each one of the Skittles. Maybe 4 on this side, maybe 4 on that side. We don't know. He said 8 to 10 Skittles on a plane for 20 minutes. That's a lot of spraying for 20 minutes into the clouds that dissipated within a couple of hours, you said. And then you got a warning from your own personal meteorologist that said, stop the operation. It's a success. Oh, wait, he didn't say that. According to you. I'm pretty sure he probably slapped you on the back saying, well done. The check is in the mail. Good job. You did your job. Go home. And then they just watched the news. Nothing showed up in the news until a few hours later. All of a sudden, we start getting news alerts at 1 o'clock in the morning on July 4th. And even that day, not one news outlet was talking about the flooding that morning. That tells you how cold these people are, how malicious these people are. They're horrible. They didn't talk about it till Saturday morning. This just in, a flood hit Kerrville on the morning of July 4th. It's like, well, it's July 5th. Why are you telling me this now? What if I had relatives 24 hours earlier? What if I wanted to help? Oh, no, it's too dangerous to come there to help. Why? Because all the roads, junction highway is washed out. Oh, okay. Well, so how's anyone going to get out? Don't know. It's probably why we didn't tell anyone. It's because if they got out, more people would be hurt. More people would die. So we didn't tell them. You didn't tell them. Rainmaker knew on July 2nd that there was a flood coming. Why didn't they tell? Well, it's not in their contract. They don't have to tell anybody that they're causing floods. They don't have to do that. They could just say, no, we're filling the aquifers. That's all we're doing. We don't care about whatever is happening over there. They shouldn't have even been seeding. Why? Because a tropical storm just went through. There's precipitation in the air. It's being drawn in from the Gulf. This is not new science. I'm not making this stuff. This is what happens when a hurricane comes in and leaves. It draws in all the precipitation from the Gulf. Then you get more flooding, more rain. So why did Rainmaker need to fly? Well, most likely it's probably because they were filling the aquifers. Because if you have rain, some of it may not go into the aquifers. And then if there is a drought a week or 2 weeks later, and those aquifers are down, you're going to get people getting sick, and you're going to cause more problems, because if you go 3 days without water, you're in trouble. So their priority was the aquifers. They don't care about the other counties. It's battle of the aquifers. That's the battle. Anyways, wow, we kept this short to 30 minutes, but I felt it was important to show this video before it gets taken down on other news outlets. If you like this kind of content, make sure and subscribe to this channel. Make sure and comment, leave a comment. I appreciate all your comments. I read all your comments. I think this channel should get more views than it has. For some reason, it's been squashed lately. I don't know why. Is it because I'm talking about the flood? Don't know. So I need you guys to do your part by sharing it with other people. And also double check to make sure that you're still subscribed. My mom was unsubscribed twice, and she promised me she never unsubscribed. I've had friends that were unsubscribed. They said they didn't do it. They're like, I didn't get any notifications from your video. Well, I go every day. And yet they didn't get notifications. Then they find out they were unsubscribed. So YouTube unsubscribes my subscribers randomly. Squash my videos randomly. Think about this. 3 years ago, I did a couple of videos that were getting over 50,000 views talking about Klaus Schwab. I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. This must be interesting because I'm getting so many views, and my channel was like under 1,000 subscribers. And I would get over 50,000 views. And I'm like, oh, I'll do it again. So I started talking about Klaus Schwab for 2-3 days in a row. Couldn't mimic it. Couldn't get the same amount of views. Nothing, got squashed to heck and back. And we're almost at 10,000 subscribers now. And yet it feels like the views are still hovering around the 500 marker, which is interesting. Some of them are 1,000. But I feel like because this is a popular topic, it should get more views. Not that that's what you want to look for, but you want to look for little indicators to say, hey, your audience thinks that this is important for them to watch. And the numbers usually kind of dictate that you're onto something. But when YouTube starts unsubscribing people and then squashing the video views, then it's like, okay, well, you guys are playing a different game. You're playing a different game. So this is why I feel like this is important to tell people, make sure and subscribe to the channel. Make sure and leave a comment. That way I know you watch the video as well. I really appreciate that. Let's see, what else do we have here? And then also, if you want to email me, you can also email me. You can send an email here, right here. blackswandiary2022@gmail.com. If you have any video footage or any interviews that you see Rainmaker making that maybe I want to have a look at, let me know that as well in the email. So thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate you guys a lot, and I will see you in another video. Bye for now.
Black Swan Revelations here on YouTube brought you today's mind-bending journey. Dive into the discussion, your comments, questions, prayer requests, and powerful testimonies of Jesus' love are what fuel this community. Did today's episode hit home? Smash that like button. New here? Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss a live stream or a video upload. Thanks for being part of today's adventure. Catch you in the next video, or maybe even in the clouds. Stay curious, stay blessed.